So in the last Devplay release, we did a short introduction to the game, which included the intro when starting a new game. In this case, we left it roughly the same, although there's some changes to the overall interface as far as conversations go. And again, this ties into the new feature, the interact button. So on the left side, we Hurry's exactly where he was before, except in this case, he's now a sprite. You know, we finally got the art for that thanks to the campaign. Text is still the same. You know, you meet this guy Herbie. He's a friend of yours, maybe a friend of a friend, and he's doing you a favor. So he was kind of prompted to put in the studio name, and we'll just go with Hurt Corp. And you know, he's kind of like, I dig it. You get to pick a specialty early on in the game. Of course, these kind of things affect what you specialize in the studio later on in the game. Of course, breaking into the industry, you might want to make a film, so we want to stay true to that, and while still allowing the player to deviate away from the anything we pre-specified early on in the game. He says finally, if you're gonna do this, you gotta invest a certain amount of time and money.
So let's go ahead and hit fine. And I've been skimming over some of the text here. So I called him a few favors. He says, it turns out that the guy who owns the dump behind me is my half-brother Barry. We can get the first month free. After that, it's up to you. Obviously, you know, you don't have to stay in a motel throughout the duration of the game. There's progression. I think one of the main reasons for implementing a city feature, you know, this is an entirely different UI with its own AI and whatnot, was to give the player a more direct approach to customizing the situation, right? Some of the context. We want to allow the player to influence the context of his or her business. The motel screen is pretty familiar to the people that have been following the game. You got your standard call, note, save. On the left hand side, to the right hand side, you have the rec button, which is right above the quick photo button, which is actually pretty new, which is a new feature when compared to the previous Devplay video. And what that allows you to do is shoot photos of calendars, magazines, and whatnot. As the need arises, as the industry grows around you, and writer photography becomes one of the major selling points. You know, it's interesting. You look at Playboy and stuff like that, and how they took off. Guess, you know, it wasn't as prolific as it is now. You can just kind of get online. So you'll be wearing a lot of hats from now on. It's all part of the game. Oh, don't worry about cameras either. You just book the spaces. I got a cousin. He's a cinematographer. Fresh out of jail on parole and looking for work. We can pay him in peanuts and diet soda. So this is interesting because we'll be hiring based on, you know, his connections. In other cases, the talent agencies, as they come into play, as the industry grows and matures, become more of a factor. You start to get the contract roles working for the big shots and things like that. You can hire these guys. You know, you can hire these guys and girls for maybe more money, but they're definitely more experienced and more well known. It could bring you some fame, some degree of fame throughout your play process. So this is Big Brandon. To the top left corner, speaking of fame, you know, he's got these 4 question marks. That indicates that he's relatively unknown. He's actually 44 years old, and he's worth about $380. You know, Wikipedia's got $380 for the next movie. He's a straight male. To the top right, to the right of this particular screen, you can see that you see straight solo group, solo, which is a bug, shouldn't show up twice. And BG, which stands for boy, girl. BB stands for boy, boy. TG stands for trainee girl, etc. This guy's very much straight, right? And in some cases, you might see a straight male with BB in their perks. And I should note that below solo, and everything below solo is the particular perks you get when hiring a particular performer. So this guy does all the things listed there. In some cases, if this was a gay male who did straight scenes, then he'd also be worth a lot more money. He'd be worth even more money if he was on the younger end of the spectrum. So it's very interesting to see a performer who is, 44, relatively unknown, be worth $380. There might be a reason there. This allows us to kind of barter. We might not even have to pay $380 in this case. So, and actually, one more thing to note is, in pairing performers, you really want to look for compatibilities in the game now, because that becomes important as you grow as a company. You want to have, maybe you want to, bring, say, Big Brandon up to stardom, right? You want to pair him with a famous performer or somebody that's definitely compatible with them. So, what can you offer me? He says, This screen is also another example of alpha. Obviously, besides money, you can also offer them other things. Just particularly if you hired off the streets, you know, you might have hired the bum. You could offer him some drugs. So we offer this guy no money. Sometimes it works, right? You know, get a guy off the streets, you give him some drugs. You might offer nothing, and it's all good. So now we'll offer him 80. He says no thanks, which is interesting. Now we know, you know, previously the game was built to kind of compensate for. I mean, we really didn't want to handhold. Right? We wanted you to, particularly if you weren't hiring from an agency. So if you hired a guy off the street, you say, hey, you want to make some money, you could throw the guy $80. That may or may not work, right? Maybe you ask for 120. So it was very much based on instincts when working on this screen before. Now, particularly, we show how much they might want. You know, we kind of have an asking price up front. That'll show you how much you might want to offer a particular performer. In some cases, you could actually lowball a performer. If you ask for $300, you might give them $100. They might take $100. Well, now, sorry, word gets around. He did a job for $100. In this case, we'll offer $360 versus $380, and that seems to work for him. In the next video, I actually want to go into some of the different ways you can recruit and hire performers based on the eras and based on who they know. You could actually, you could ask this guy who he knows, right? Although that might not be the smartest thing in the world because he was fairly expensive for what we're getting. I mean, this is a pretty standard guy. So in the next video, I want to get into the actual shoots themselves. If you got any questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter. That's at JoyToilet. On Twitter, my personal Twitter is at DoopTheJoy, en.joytoilet.com. You can find the About Us page. Contact any member of the staff. We'll definitely get back to you. If you have a more personal question, you can hit us up at janitor@joytoilet.com. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the newsletter. Primarily, we're focusing on getting the demo out. The next playable will be the Invite Alpha. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. You can find the mailing list at joytoilet.com. See you in the next Devplay, and I promise there will be some actual sex.
Anything you want to say to your viewers, lovers, and supporters?
My Latin lovers, I say hello, hello. When I say goodbye, I say